Hello there guys and welcome to this weekend's live stream of IFMC here at the Yas Marina circuit here at Abu Dhabi United Arab Emirates. I'm JWF1 and we are here to kick things off with the qualifying session to determine the grid for race 1 of IFMC GP3. After a 2-week break, the feeder series action returns for their final weekend and both championships have a title decider, especially this one. Coming into this race, 4 drivers mathematically still have a shout at winning the Drivers' Championship. Those guys being Joseph Newgarden, Ferdinand Hasberg, Robert Kubica and Lucas Di Grassi. Di Grassi and Kubica are outside shots, with Kubica 19 points back from Newgarden and Di Grassi 20 points back from Newgarden because of the fact that if on a countback he was able to get the victories this weekend, he'd have more than Newgarden. So it is looking like we are expected then in this session to lose one championship contender from this qualifying session. Either it will be Kubica or Di Grassi, or it could even be both. Realistically though, the fight is between Newgarden and Hasberg, as coming into this race the top 2 are separated by 6 points between each other. Who will win the GP3 title? Will it be Joseph Newgarden, Ferdinand Hasberg, and maybe even Robert Kubica or Lucas Di Grassi? Let us know. But as you can see, bright and sunny conditions for the qualifying session, and no qualifying bans to report. So I think without further ado then, let's get to the qualifying session for IFMC GP3. So, here we are then in the pit lane, and we're going to go to the end of the pit lane with that looks to be Nico Kari that's at the end of the pit lane. So we will wait and get this session underway. It is a 35-minute session as we wait for the first set of cars to go out onto the track. So if you can hear my fan in the background, it is quite warm in my room at this stage. But anyway, we get set for the finale for IFMC GP3, and it's the first time that GP3 will be here at Asia, of course. In previous seasons, of course, they've only been racing around European circuits, but it's a one-off for them. It's the first time they've gone outside of Europe to do a race, and they're here at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi, and it's Will Power who's going to be the first man to come out onto the track for Dacia Eldorado Jr. He'll be playing supporting role for teammate Joseph Newgarden, who comes into this race leading the Drivers' Championship, and of course Dacia Eldorado currently lead the team's championship as well. They're in a battle with Auto Jamaica and surprisingly Willows Racing, despite the fact that neither Willows Racing driver is in contention for the Drivers' Championship. The team still has a chance to win the team's championship, but they also have an outside hope. So realistically it is between Dacia Eldorado and Auto Jamaica to go for the team's title. As you can see, Power now going down the long straight, which is not as long as what your Hognam was a couple of weeks ago. Also on the track we have Naughty Boy Santino Ferrucci, who in real life I think he's now probably the most hated driver in the world, and there's a lot of questions surrounding whether AMP will actually let him go at the end of the season due to his comments he made on R10 in real life and towards his family, and the disgraceful behaviour he showed in real life at Silverstone. So there's a lot of questions surrounding Santino Ferrucci's future in IFMC. Kyle Kaiser out on the track, as is Eravinio, Ferdinand Hasberg, Nick Heifeld out there as well, as is Jack Aitken, Sebastian Buemi, Lucas Di Grassi, Joseph Newgarden, Robert Kubica, Nico Kari, Antonio Fuoco is also coming out on the track as well. We also have Daniel Kvyat out there as well, as and that is that. So we have 14 cars out on the track. Kvyat the last guy to come out onto the track. So I don't think, unless I kind of forgot, I don't think any of the top 2 in the Drivers' Championship have come out onto the track. So they're staying out on the track in the pit lane at this stage. As meantime, Power now then will come up now towards the second to last turn. Around he goes, and then approaching the final corner he will go on the track, and Power is about to start his first flying lap now then, along with Santino Ferrucci behind him now then, as they come down the pit straight towards turn 1 on the track now then, as he makes his way around the first corner, and then up towards turn 2 we will go, as Power flicks the car in, and then around turn 3 we go, this long sweeping right-hander, as Power now goes down the hill towards the bus stop chicane on the track, as he flicks the car around the left, into the right, and then in towards the hairpin he will go. And I think he's just past the first sector. In fact, so he's into the second sector as he comes down this long straight on the track. Could we see overtaking being done in GP3? It has been proven it is quite tough to pass here in previous seasons, but it's not impossible. You just have to be quite lucky when it comes to traction to be able to get somebody around this track. As Power now then comes up towards the left-right chicane, and Power now then just goes around these section of corners as he comes off the turn, using a little bit of curb on the outside as he goes down the support pit straight, heading towards the next chicane on the track. And let's see now then what Power can do as he's now coming up towards the second chicane. Round the left, right and left-hander he will go. And Power has had quite a mixture of a season, it must be said, and he'll be hoping to end this season for him on a high if he can, and hopefully be around in GP3 next season, whether it'll be with DC at Eldorado or with another team next season. It remains to be seen. Of course, Will Power, in fact, now speaking of which, I forgot about that actually, Will Power is actually moving to the top class next season with GRM, so this will be his final weekend in GP3, and whether it will be the last for New Gun or depends if he wins the championship or not remains to be seen. Same with Hasberg as well, depending on if he wins the championship. We'll have to wait and see as Power now then rounds the final two turns on the track, and let's see what Will Power can manage now then as he comes down the pit straight and across the line goes the Australian. What's the benchmark time going to be? It is a 1:49.281 for Will Power. Ferrucci slots to second behind him. Here comes Kyle Kaiser, his fellow compatriot. He will now approach the final two turns on the track, and let's see what Kyle Kaiser is able to manage. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight will go Kaiser, as Kaiser will now then cross the line, and let's see what his time's going to be. It's P2 for Kyle Kaiser, getting in front of Santino Ferrucci. Aero Vinio just comes down the pit straight, and Vinio now then will go across the line himself, and he goes fourth fastest for the moment, as it's P1 for Ferdinand Hasberg. So there was a championship contender out on track. Hasberg has currently gone fastest for the minute, so Hasberg to the top of the timing sheets. Nick Heifeld now then will come up towards the final turn, and let's see what Nick Heifeld can manage as he comes down the pit straight, and Heifeld will now cross the line, and he goes fifth fastest for the moment. Jack Aitken slots to third in the Willows racing car. Sebastian Buemi slots to fifth. Lucas Di Grassi, another title contender, he goes sixth fastest for the moment, and so far will be out of title contention race like this. Only seventh for Joseph Newgarden, so not a good time for him. P5 for Robert Kubica, P9 for Nico Kari. Here comes Antonio Fuoco, he will now cross the line, and it's ninth fastest for the Italian. Daniel Kvyat then slots to ninth himself then. So at the moment it is currently Hasberg that's fastest, with Power second, and in third is Jack Aitken. So that's what the top three currently occupies at this stage, as Aitken comes out of the left-hander. And of course we have race one later on today as well. For anybody wondering, the schedule has been altered a little bit as a result of the World Cup matches that are going on at the weekend, and now we've got the available space, we are able to shift it around to be able to make viewers watch the World Cup, whereas we couldn't do last time. But we are able to this time by, so that's why we have the first race of GP3 on today, and race 2 for them will be on tomorrow, but GP2 will remain the same rate. The feature race will be on tomorrow, and the sprint race will be on for them on Sunday. The Grand Prix will still be on the Sunday, and of course the qualifying session still will be on the Saturday. So that's that really. We've now have that available space now. I'm no longer taking part in that league, and plus now that the press conference has been cancelled for the remaining of the season, we are able to do this now then. So as you can see, Aitken now rounds the left-hander as he uses a tad bit curb on the outside, and Aitken will soon come back into the pits very soon in the Willows racing car, along with everybody else that's currently surrounding him at this stage. Newgarden all the way down in 8th now, it must be said, so he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to win the championship this weekend, considering his nearest rival is currently going to be taking 2 points out of him in the Drivers' Championship. At this stage, Kubica and Di Grassi will be out of championship contention. One of them, each of them have to take pole position in order to keep their championship hopes alive, and so far they're around about 6th and 7th at the moment. So at the moment it's not going to be the title for Kubica and Di Grassi if it remains like this at the moment, with Hasberg currently on the pole ahead of a few others, and then we have Kubica and Di Grassi as Newgarden goes back into the pits as we wait for another set of cars to come out onto the track, and we do have some now in the form of Marco Andretti, who's just coming out on the track for Auto Jamaica. I think Anthony Davidson was also coming out on the track as well. Yes, he is. Davidson is coming out there as well, as Andretti now approaches the bus stop chicane on the track. So he rounds the left, then the right, and then into the hairpin he will soon go. and Andretti now then just coming off the turn as he now heads down the long pit straight before approaching the bus stop chicane. And so that's that really as far as he is concerned, as he will now approach the left-right chicane on the track as Andretti prepares to start his next flying lap, as he now rounds the left and then the right-hander, and he comes off the turn now then before heading down the support pitch straight, heading towards the next chicane. So many chicanes on this track. Davidson out on track as mentioned, as is Jenson Button. Aerovinio just coming out on the track, just going under the tunnel which crosses over the racetrack. Powell will be coming out, as will Kaiser, Rossi, Hasberg, Abt, Nazar, Hubert, Elation and Newgarden. Those guys will be coming out in just a little bit. Newgarden looking to improve and see if he can get the car onto the front row alongside Ferdinand Hasberg if he can, as Andretti now then just goes around the triple right-hander on the track, as he'll soon be going under the hotel. So round the left-hander he goes, using just missing the curb on the outside, as Andretti now then is about to start his first flying lap on the track, as he now comes up towards the final two turns. And up towards the final corner goes Andretti, looking to see if he could try and make an Auto Jamaica front row on the grid, with his teammate currently on the pole at this stage, as Andretti starts his lap now then, as he heads down towards turn 1. So around turn 1 goes Hasberg, using that curb on the outside, as he will now come around the section of corners, around the left, and then around this long right-hander he will go, as he goes down the hill now then towards the bus stop chicane on the track, as he makes his way round the left and then into the right-hander, and then approaching the hairpin he will now go. And Andretti now then just flicking the car around the left-hander, as he now heads down this long straight he will go, and he will now approach the left-right chicane, as Andretti comes down this long straight on the track, as it makes up a majority of Sector 2 now then, riding on board with Marco Andretti, as he will now approach the left-right chicane where Kamui Kobayashi made that brilliant pass on Jenson Button back in 2009, 9 years ago in Formula 1 in real life, when they first came here to Abu Dhabi. Coming down the support pitch straight will go Marco Andretti now then, as he will soon approach the next chicane on the track, which will be turns 1, 2 and 3 of the support pitch straight. And that's if they were using, I think it's called the national configuration of this track. I could be wrong on that, as Andretti just negotiates around the section of corners. Up towards the left-hander he will go, as he flicks the car in through the turn, using a little bit of the curb on the left-hand side there, or the right-hand side of him I should say. Around this triple right-hander now then, as he will approach the hotel section of the track. He will soon be going under that part now then, once he flicks to the left, and we'll be able to see in a little bit whether Andretti will be able to get his Auto Jamaica on the front row, making an Auto Jamaica lockout on the front row so far, with Hasberg currently on the pole position. Round the final two corners then comes Marco Andretti, as he will now approach the final turn, and onto the pit straight he will go. And Andretti now then is going to cross the line, and let's see what he can do. And he goes 8th fastest with that lap, so that pushes Newgarden down to 9, so giving his teammate a little bit of a helping hand there. Here comes Anthony Davidson, who rounds the final two turns himself, and let's see what Davidson could do on his first flying lap with just over 24 minutes left in this qualifying session. Across the line goes Anthony Davidson, and it's only good enough for P15 at the moment in this session. Jenson Button rounds the final turn himself, and let's see what JB can do as he will head down the pit straight. Button crosses the line. Where's he going to place himself? And it's only 12th fastest for Jenson Button. Aerovinio currently on a lap in the Soremi racing car, as he goes around the triple right-hander before approaching the hotel section of the course. Approaching the left-hander he goes, as he just misses the curb on the outside, flicking the car in through the left-hander, as he will now approach the final two turns on the track. And Vinio now then using all the curb on the outside as possible. And let's see where this will place the young Finn now then, as he heads down the pit straight. He's already done a lap a little bit earlier, but is this going to be an improvement for Vinio? It is, but he remains 17th for the moment in this session, so a little bit off the pace it must be said. Here's current pole sitter Ferdinand Hasberg. Let's see what Ferdinand can do as he rounds the final turn. Is he going to be on an improvement? as his pole position time so far is a 1:48.907, and he doesn't improve, remains on that time for the moment. Alexander Rossi crosses the line, and he goes only 14th for that lap, so not a good time from Rossi. P18 for Antoine Hubert, as Power doesn't improve, stays second as a result of Hubert looking like he held him up there, as it's still third for Jack Aitken. 14th place for Daniel Abt. Here comes Joseph Newgarden. Can he improve on his 1:49? Across the line goes the championship leader, and he goes up to second, so he gets onto the front row with Hasberg. That's exactly what he needed, and it's P2 for Joseph Newgarden. 17th for Michael Alation. 7th for Felipe Nasr. 5th now for Kyle Kaiser, so a good time for the American to get himself into P5 at the moment, as Davidson just rounds those corners. So at the moment then, it is currently Hasberg fastest, with Newgarden now in second, and rounding out the top three is Will Power. So 2 and 3 so far for Dacia Eldorado, exactly what they need if they want to go away with both championships at the moment. But at this stage, with Hasberg currently on the pole, if it stays like this, the gap will be down to 4 points in the Drivers' Championship between Newgarden and Hasberg, with Kubica and Degrassi being out of contention for this season's championship, as now Hasberg will approach the left chicane on the track, as he will now come back into the pits this time by, as he makes his way around these section of corners before approaching the left-hander, coming off the turn using a little bit of curb on the outside. And as mentioned, of course, Ferdinand Hasberg will be coming into the pits this time by, as he makes his way around the triple right-hander, as he comes off the turn before approaching the left-hander. We will go so now round the left-hander we go before approaching the final 2 turns, and round the right-hander now. Then Hasberg will approach the pit lane now, then, which he does as we wait for another set of cars to come out onto the track. Anybody now on the track? Well, yes, in the form of Robert Kubica, who looks to try and save his slim championship hopes by trying to see if he can get his KR racing car on pole position with just over 21 minutes left in the session, as Kubica now comes out on the track. Otherwise, him and Degrassi are probably just going to fight it out for 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship if they're not able to. Around the chicane goes Kubica, as he now makes his way round the left-hander, and heading down the straight now then goes Robert Kubica, as he will now approach the left chicane. Sorry, the left-right chicane, I should say, as Kubica's about to start his 2nd flying lap, if I'm correct. Yes, his 2nd flying lap of the session. Speaking of the other slim title hope, Lucas Degrassi comes out on the track. He's down in 9th at the moment, 3 places back from Robert Kubica, so he needs to make a move on if he can, as he makes his way out of the pit lane. So we'll be expecting Andretti, Heifeld, Hubert, Button for Waco, Ferrucci, Abt, I think I just saw there, Nazar, Boemi, Rossi, Davidson and Kvyat to come out on the track a little bit later on, as Kubica now then rounds the left chicane on the track, and he will make his way in towards the left-hander. And let's see what Kubica will be able to do at this stage, as he will now approach the triple right-hander on the track, as he just misses the curb on the right hand, or just takes a tad bit of curb, I should say, pretty much brushing the curb, it should be said, as Kubica goes under the bridge, the hotel, and Kubica about to start his next flying lap in the hopes of trying to keep his slim championship hopes alive. Round the second to last turn he goes before approaching the final corner, and Kubica now then heads down the pit straight, and he will now approach turn 1. There's a few cars on the right hand side now then just coming out of the pits. One of them is Boemi, and one of them looks to be Daniel Abt is coming out, and Antoine Hubert, Kubica's teammate. So both KR Racing cars will be out at this time trying to do a flying lap, as Kubica comes out of the first corner, and around turn 2 and 3 he will soon go, and Kubica now then just round the right-hander he goes, using that tad bit of curb on the outside before approaching the left-right chicane on the track. Around he goes, around the left, then the right, and then approaching the hairpin he will now go, and so he just goes around the hairpin as Kubica heads down the straight. He'll be up in that Willow, I think it's a Willows Racing car, Shadow, I can't quite tell which one it is. It's either a Shadow Racing or a Willows Racing car, and I think it's a Shadow that's in front, so he'll be open that, I think it's Nazar in front, no, it's Davidson, will not hold him up on this lap, as we ride on board with Robert Kubica as he approaches the left-right chicane on the track. Approaching that chicane he will go round the left and then into the right-hander goes Kubica as he comes off the turn. And as he comes out of the corner now, then heading down the long straight he will go. And that's that then, really. As they come down towards sorry about that, as Kubica now then goes around at the left-hander using a little bit of curb on the outside as he'll soon approach the triple right-hander. And Kubica now then approaching the bridge section, well, the hotel section I should say. Round the right and then into the left-hander he will go. And let's see what Robert Kubica can do as he will now round at the left-hander, coming off the turn before approaching the final two turns on the track. And let's see what Robert Kubica can do now then as he comes up towards the final turn and onto the pit straight. Then goes Kubica as he will now cross the line, and the experienced Polish man will go third fastest for the moment. So it's P3 for Kubica, but not quite pole position that he was expecting, but an improvement for the pole nonetheless. As Buemi and Abt start lap, as do Hubert and Andretti and Rossi. Here's Di Grassi then, the other outsider now then. Round the triple right-hander he goes. And let's see what Di Grassi can do on this lap as he looks for another pole position this season if he can. I think he's got either 2 or 3 this season. He would love to try and get the final pole position of the season. As he comes out of the turn now then, approaching the final 2 turns on the track. And let's see what Lucas Di Grassi can manage then, using a tad bit of curb on the outside. As he will now approach the final corner and onto the pit straight. Then goes Lucas Di Grassi as he will now cross the line, and he goes up to 7th, so an improvement but not quite what he wanted. So it's only P7 for Lucas Di Grassi at this stage. Here's the naughty boy Santino Ferrucci as he will now goes under the hotel section. Round the left-hander he goes before approaching the final 2 turns on the track. And let's see what Santino Ferrucci can manage then. Round the second to last corner and approaching the final turn will go Ferrucci. And let's see what he's able to do then. Round the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go. And Ferrucci goes up to 13th, so he improves by 4 places. An improvement for Heifeld to go up to 14th, so an improvement for him. Button doesn't improve, remains 15th with that lap. Here comes Felipe Nasr in the Shadow Racing car. Whether he'll still be with the team next season remains to be seen. Same with Anthony Davidson, who's underperformed this season, it must be said, compared to last season where we got a victory. As Nasr crosses the line and remains in 8th place. No improvement for the Brazilian. As it's up to 6th place goes Daniel Kvyat. So Kvyat improves to go up to 6th place at this stage now then. Here comes Antonio Fuoco in the AYP racing car. Fuoco now then will cross the line, and he remains 12th with that lap but improves on his best time. So he seems to be improving in terms of pace recently, it must be said, after what has been a tricky season for the Italian. Davidson remains 20th with that lap, so no improvement for him. Here comes Sebastian Buemi. Across the line goes the Swiss, and he goes up to 3rd with that lap, so that pushes Kubica to 4th, so P3 for Sebastian Buemi, as an improvement for Abt but only up to 16th place. An improvement for Hubert, but it's only still going to be 19th for Hubert, as it's not an improvement for Andretti, who remains 11th with that lap. Here comes Alexander Rossi, who's way down the field in 18th place, looking to see if he can get near teammate Aitken if he can. Rossi about to cross the line. Is this going to be an improvement for the American? And it is, but only up to 12th place, so a big improvement, but still outside the top 10 at this stage is Alexander Rossi in the Willows racing car. So that's that for him really, as Rossi will be coming back into the pits this time by as he makes his way around that long sweeping right-hander, as he'll be coming into the pits this time by as we wait for another set of cars to come out. The Grassi bumped all the way back down to 9th place, it must be said, as a result of Buemi and I think it was Kvyat that improved. I can't 100% remember, but that's that really as far as he is concerned. But at the moment it is still Newgarden that is currently fast. Sorry, Hasberg that is currently fast at the moment, one title contender, ahead of Newgarden and Power. So that's how. No, it's not Power anymore. It's now Buemi who rounds out the top 3. I kind of forgot about that. So it's Hasberg from Newgarden, Buemi, Kubica, and I believe it's Power who's running at the top 5. So that's how that looks at the moment in this qualifying session. As mentioned, Fuoco is coming back into the pits this time by, as is Davidson, as we wait for another set of cars to come out. And Aitken is waiting in the pit lane for his go to go out there, as we have just over 14 minutes of this qualifying session remaining to determine the grid for race 1 later on today. And that takes place at 7 PM after the GP2 qualifying session that happens in between this qualifying session and race 1 for them. So Aitken now then comes out on the track for Willows Racing as he looks to improve on his 6th place at the moment in this session. Aitken just negotiating around the left-hander as he comes out of pit lane. Aitken now then comes out on the track as he comes down the straight, down this little run before approaching the left-right chicane. And Aitken now then making his way around through these section of corners before approaching the hairpin. And Aitken just getting the car around the left-hander as he now heads down the straight now then before approaching the left-right chicane. And as you can see, we just go down this little straight now then, and as you can see, Aitken will now approach the left-right chicane as he will be preparing to start his next flying lap. Into the chicane he goes, around the left and then into the right-hander he goes as he uses a tad bit of curb on the outside. And Aitken now then going down the support pit straight as he prepares to start his next flying lap. Also on the track we have Michael Elation for Horizon Motorsport, Kyle Kaiser, Joseph Newgarden, Nico Kari, Hasberg's coming out, as is Heifel. We're expecting Fuoco, Ferrucci, Power, Vinio, Degrassi, Kubica and Kvyat to come out on the track as well during this session within these group of cars. As round the triple right-hander goes Jack Aitken in the Wallows racing car. As mentioned a little earlier, he's preparing to start his next flying lap on the track as he now approaches the left-hander. And now up towards the next corner he goes, round the left-hander, as he will now approach the final 2 turns on the track. And let's see what Aitken can do as he now is about to start his next flying lap. Currently P6, looking to improve on that if he can, using a tad bit of curb on the outside as they come down the pit straight, riding on board with the British Korean of Jack Aitken. In towards turn 1 he goes. Excuse me. And now approaching turn 2 will go. Excuse me, I think I may have briefly lost my voice there. And so Aitken now then, as you can see, he's got some traffic in front in the form of Santina Ferrucci. Luckily for him, he isn't Arjun Maini. I'm only joking. As Aitken now then rounds the left-hander on the track, as he will now come down the long straight before approaching the left-right chicane. And there's quite a big group of cars now going down this long straight, as Aitken now then will approach the left-right chicane on the track. And Aitken now then approaches that corner on the track. Round the left he goes, and then into the right-hander we go, as he uses quite a lot of curb on the outside as they make the way down this support pit straight before approaching the left chicane on the track. And Aitken now then going down the straight in towards the chicane he will go, round the left and then into the right and then into the left-hander again we will go, as Aitken comes out of that turn round the left-hander, as Aitken looks to improve on 6th place at the moment. Hopefully Ferrucci isn't giving him a hard time in front. Round the triple right-hander we go, as Aitken now then rounds the right-hander and then into the double left-hander we go. And Aitken now then just going around the section of corners in towards the final 2 turns then goes Jack Aitken, and let's see if this is going to be an improvement for the British Korean. With just over 10 minutes left in this session, Aitken now then up towards the final corner and onto the pit straight we will go. And the British Korean now then will go across the line, and he doesn't improve, remains in 6th place with that lap. Here comes Michael Elation, he will now cross the line, and let's see what he can do. He goes up to 19th with that lap, so P19 for Michael Elation, only getting a place so far, being way outpaced by teammate Carl Kaiser, who seems to be suited to this Yas Marina track, as he comes out of the hotel section before approaching the final 2 turns. And let's see what Carl Kaiser can manage to on this lap. Is this going to be an improvement for the young American? Around the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Kyle Kaiser, and Kaiser now then will cross the line. Is this going to be an improvement? It isn't. He remains 8th without that. Joseph Newgarden crosses the line and remains 2nd. Isn't able to beat Hasberg to pole position at this stage. Kari now then, round the left-hander he goes, as he comes off the turn before approaching the final 2 corners then. And Kari coming off the turn using a lot of curb on the outside up towards the final corner and onto the pit straight now then goes Nico Kari, as he will now cross the line and he doesn't improve, remains 18th with that lap. Here comes Ferdinand Hasberg, who rounds the final turn. Is he going to improve on his pole position time? Down the pit straight goes the young Austrian, and Hasberg crosses the line, and he just isn't able to improve. Remains on a 1 minute 48.907. Still 15th for Heifeld. He doesn't improve. Here's Aerovinio. Can he get out of that dreaded last place? The Suomi driver is now going to cross the line, and he doesn't improve. Remains 22nd and last at this stage. Robert Kubica, is he on an improvement? The Polish driver rounds the final 2 turns, and Kubica now then will approach the final corner, and onto the pit straight he will go. And Robert Kubica is about to power across the line, and is this an improvement? No, it isn't. He remains 4th with that lap. Will Power remains 5th, no improvement for the Aussie. Antonio Fuoco remains 13th with that lap, as it's still 14th for Ferrucci, so both AYP still locking out row 7. As Degrassi goes up to 7th, so he improves to go up to P7 at the moment, as Kvyat remains P8, isn't able to beat Degrassi again on that lap. So at this stage then, that's that in terms of these guys doing a lap. At the moment it is still Hasberg that's fastest, with Nugon second and Buemi rounding out the top 3. So far that's how the qualifying session looks like, as we have just over 8 minutes remaining in the session to determine the grid for later's race, which is race 1 of IFMC GP3. So Nugon comes into the pit lane this time by, and he will feed back information to the team to see where they could improve and where they're struggling at the moment, and where they could be possibly losing time in trying to snatch the pole off rival Ferdinand Hasberg at the minute, as everybody waits in pit lane at the moment. So that's that for him really, as Kvyat now then just rounds the left-right chicane, as he comes down the straight before approaching the next chicane, the left chicane. So he comes down the straight before approaching that chicane himself. So around he goes, then round the left, then the right, and then into the left under. And Kvyat now then just going around that corner, using the curb on the outside, as he will now approach the quadruple right under now then. Sorry, the triple right under. Kvyat coming back into the pits this time. By us out on track comes teammate Jenson Button. Button coming out on the track. He's way down in 16th, being outpaced by teammate Daniel Kvyat. Must be said, throughout the season, despite the victory he got back in Spain earlier in the season, things haven't gone according to plan for Jenson Button. And let's not forget, he has missed a weekend, of course, to do some top class duties. So he has obviously missed a weekend as well, which may have cost him some points, but who really knows really? It's happened, and there's nothing we can do really to alter time. Nobody really knows what could have happened if Button was still in that Pennzoil team in Germany, had Eldorado not made the call to him. So that was that really, as Button goes down the long straight before approaching the left-right chicane. So into the chicane we will go, through the left and then into the right-hander. As Button uses quite a lot of curb on the outside as he makes his way down the long straight. And Button now then approaching the left chicane on the track he will go. And Button now then preparing to start his next flying lap. Also on the track we have Sebastian Buemi in the Kenny Star Motorsport car. Also on track we have Anthony Davidson, Alexander Rossi, Daniel Laps, Marco Andretti, Felipe Nasr, Carl Kaiser, Michael Alatian, Nico Kari, Jack Aiken, Joseph Newgarden, Anthony Bear and Ferdinand Hasberg. Those guys expected to come out in a little bit. Some people expected to finish off their final flying laps, and wouldn't surprise me. So they're pretty much wrapping up their session a little bit early. As coming out of the hotel section then goes Jenson Button, as he will now approach the final 2 turns on the track. Round the right under he goes, and then up towards the final corner goes Jenson Button, as he now heads down the pit straight, and across the line goes JB. And Button now then starts his lap with just over 5 minutes remaining in the session. Round turn 1 then goes to 2009 Formula 1 champion in real life. Into turn 2 he goes, and through turn 3 we will go. And as he comes out of that turn and up towards the left-right chicane he will go. So tell me, guys, obviously, of course, today the remaining classic cars got revealed for F1 2018. What are your opinions about the classic cars that have been chosen for the 2018 game, along with the 2017 classic cars making a return? Personally, although it's a nice addition, I still really wish they would fix the online. They've still not mentioned anything about the online, really, and I think we're all kind of fearing it's going to be broken again. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. Hopefully they do prove us wrong, but from the way that they've been acting, it just doesn't. There's just no signs of it happening. So, which is kind of a shame, really, considering they've got a whole esports event coming up. So that's that, really. Here comes Jenson Button as he makes his way down the support pit straight, as he will now approach the left chicane on the track. Around the left, then the right, and then into the left hand he will go as he looks to improve on 16th place at the minute in this session. Around the left-hander he goes, and just missing the curb on the outside there. Then approaching the triple right-hander, and so Button now then up towards the right-hander before going under the bridge. Under 4 minutes now remaining in the session. We've already passed the 5:30 mark. We're now at the 24 minutes to 6 mark now then. So Button now then around the second to last corner and up towards the final turn goes JB. Can he get up to where teammate Kvyat is, which I believe is P8? Button now then goes across the line. Is this an improvement for JB? It is, but not in. But he only gains a place, so only up to 15th goes Button, as it's still third for Buemi, as Aitken behind starts the lap. Here comes Anthony Davidson in the Shadow Racing car round the final turn and onto the pit straight we go. And of course, censored alcohol sponsors here for Abu Dhabi has to be completely censored, so you could see a little bit of a different colour scheme for Martini and Bud Light Lime. Up to 20th goes Davidson as Hasberg behind starts the lap. Here comes Alexander Rossi round the second to last corner we go before approaching the final corner. And let's see what Alexander Rossi can manage then as he comes down the pit straight and across the line he will go. And he doesn't improve, remains 12th with that lap, as Daniel Laps remains 17th for the moment. Marco Andretti improves but remains 11th at this stage. Here comes Felipe Nasr, who comes out of the second to last corner. Up towards the final turn then goes Nasr, and let's see what he's able to do then in this instance as he comes down the pit straight. Nasr goes across the line and remains in 10th place. No improvement for the Brazilian. Kyle Kaiser rounds the second to last corner himself. Up towards the final turn goes the American, and Kyle Kaiser now then is going to cross the line, and let's see what he can manage, and he doesn't improve, remains 9th with that lap, as it's still 19th for teammate Elation. So Elation being heavily outpaced by Kyle Kaiser in this qualifying session. Joseph Newgarden, the championship leader, rounds the final turn, and let's see what Newgarden can manage. Can he beat Hasberg to pole? Across the line goes Newgarden, and he doesn't. On his final flying lap he remains second. So it looks like Hasberg has out-qualified him in this session, but will Hasberg hold on to pole in these remaining few minutes of qualifying? Carby goes up to 14th place. Here comes Hubert heading down the pit straight now there on the track. Antoine Hubert is going to cross the line, and he remains 21st with that lap. So Hubert struggling, but possibly won't have enough time left to go back around and get another flying lap under his belt. Jack Aitken, 6th for the moment. This is going to be an improvement for Aitken across the line. And no, it ain't. Remains 6th at the moment in this session on his final flying lap. Can Hasberg improve on his current pole time now then? I think this is his final flying lap as he comes around the final turn and onto the pit straight. Hasberg, across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve. Remains on a 1 minute 48.9, so I think he's the only man to be in the 1 minute 48 in this session. So Hasberg has finished his lap this time by, and I think that will do it really, because there's not going to be enough time for anybody else to come out onto the track. There's nobody in the pit lane at this stage with just over a minute left, and as a result I believe Ferdinand Hasberg has taken a very crucial pole position for race 1 later today, and as a result has cut the gap between himself and Joseph Newgarden to just 4 points in the Drivers' Championship, and it means that Kubica and Degrassi are now out of title contention. It is now just between Newgarden and Hasberg for the Drivers' Championship, as Hasberg now then will approach the left chicane on the track. So around the chicane he goes, and anybody that decides to come out at this point is probably just doing a mileage run. 33 seconds left on the clock as Hasberg comes down the support pit straight, and we'll stay with him until he goes back into pit lane, of course, as he now approaches the left right left chicane on the track, which is turns 1, 2 and 3 for the support pit straight. Hasberg coming off that turn as he now goes immediately into another 90-degree left-hander. So 10 seconds remaining. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Checkered flag is out, and that is the end of the session. We wait for Hasberg to go back into the pits, and it should say qualifying over by the time Hasberg returns to pit lane at this point, as he now approaches the second to last corner. Hasberg just goes into pit lane, and it should say qualifying over once he goes in, which it does, and there you have it then. So it is Ferdinand Hasberg who has taken pole position for race 1 later today, a very crucial pole position, meaning that the gap between him and Newgarden is now down to just 4 points, with Kubica and De Grassi now out of championship contention. So there you have it then, guys. After all of that, here is the grid for race 1 later today. Ferdinand Hasberg is on pole position with Joseph Newgarden 2nd, Sebastian Buemi 3rd, with Robert Kubica 4th, Will Power 5th, Jack Aitken 6th, Lucas Di Grassi in 7th, with Daniel Kvyat 8th, Kyle Kaiser 9th, Felipe Nasr in 10th, Marco Andretti 11th, Alexander Rossi 12th, Antonio Fuoco 13th, Nico Kari in 14th position. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, it is Santino Ferrucci in 15th, Jenson Button in 16th, Nick Heifeld 17th, Daniel Abt 18th, Michael Alation 19th, Anthony Davidson 20th, Anthony Bear 21st, and Eero Vainio in 22nd and last. So there you have it then, guys. That is the grid for race 1 later today. It should be hopefully a very exciting race, and it'll be very interesting to see if Hasberg can keep the championship fight alive going into tomorrow's final race of the season for IFMC GP3, or whether Newgarden can pass him on track and wrap up the championship for him and Dacia Eldorado. But there you have it then, guys. That has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. So stick around now, guys, because coming up next is the qualifying session for IFMC GP2, and that gets underway in just around 18 minutes time. So if you want to go and grab a quick drink, then you can. But until then, I've been JWF1, and I'll see you guys in just a little bit.